9 minutes past the hour, here it is. This was a case about bump stocks. So this was a Second Amendment question, and it was challenged by the U.S. Supreme Court. The question is whether a bump stock, which is an accessory to a semi-automatic rifle that allows the shooter and the user of that weapon to rapidly re-engage the trigger and fire quickly. It converts the rifle into what many consider a machine gun type. The court holds that it does not. Stand by 1 second. Justice Thomas, stand by, we want to get this right, just hang with me. So the third and final ruling of the day, a case Garland versus Cargill, the bump stock case. It is by Justice Thomas, and the vote is 6-3. Sotomayor dissents, joined by Kagan and Jackson. Shannon Bream, I'm going to put you on the spot because I know you're reading the ruling right now. 6-3 ruling does what to this case about bump stocks in the Second Amendment?
Yeah, and essentially, Bill, what they're saying is that the ATF exceeded its statutory authority by issuing a rule that classifies a bump stock as a, quote, machine gun under statutory law. So reading through now, we would expect when we see Justice Thomas is the one authoring this opinion that it would lean in favor of what are viewed as Second Amendment rights. And it sounds like here he's put this coalition together that looks like a 6-3 split here in favor of pushing back against what the ATF did. Again, you've got Thomas, Roberts, Alito, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Barrett together. Justice Alito has a very brief concurring opinion. He supports what they've done. But Justice Sotomayor, as you said, has a dissenting opinion with Justices Kagan and Jackson. As we read through here, it is pretty lengthy. But what Justice Thomas is saying essentially is ATF went too far. It's not a machine gun. Yeah,
you keep reading there because here's this goes back to the massacre in Las Vegas, Nevada, right? When that gunman was on that top floor of that hotel at the country music concert. So the headline from the AP is this: Supreme Court strikes down the Trump-era ban on bump stocks, that rapid-fire gun accessory used in the massacre of 2017 in Las Vegas. So that's the ruling on behalf of the court, Shannon.
It is, and in Justice Alito's concurrence here, which again is very brief, he mentions that shooting in Las Vegas, trying to get to that language here where he talks about that. And essentially he says this, yes, it was a horrible shooting spree, but it did not change statutory text or its meaning. He says that event did demonstrate that a semi-automatic rifle with a bump stock can have the same lethal effects as a machine gun, and strengthened the case for maybe amending the statutory, the language of the law. But he says an event that highlights the need to amend the law does not itself change the law's meaning. So he agrees with what the majority did here and says ATF cannot extend the statutory definition of a machine gun to a bump stock. And he does note that Las Vegas event because, of course, that was foremost in people's minds when this move was made. He says the remedy for, the problem with bump stocks and machine guns is about Congress. They have to amend the law. And if they had done that, the ATF may have stuck with its earlier interpretation. Congress is the one who has to act. That's so often what we hear from this court where there's a problem, saying they've got to be the ones to take care of this statutory language, and that's certainly what we're hearing from the court this time around.
Okay, the guidance I'm given now is that this is not considered a Second Amendment matter. Andy McCarthy is on it as well. Andy, join the conversation. What's your read?
Yeah, I think Shannon's summary of this is perfect. The only thing I could add to it is I think this is a trend of this court, as you've just observed. Really, I think this is less about guns and more about the administrative state. What they're basically saying is that they want, unless there's something that's very clear in congressional statute that authorizes an administrative agency to take action, what they're saying is they want action taken by the congressional representatives who are answerable to the people rather than unaccountable bureaucrats in the administrative state.
Andy, this is Jillian. This was a response to a Trump administration move that banned bump stocks, as Bill laid out a moment ago, in response to the mass shooting in Vegas in 2017. In this case, you had this sort of weird setup where you had the NRA arguing against that Trump-era law. So we're now
Right.
seeing the way it's
Yep.
teasing out. It looks like, you know, the justices are siding with the NRA.
Yeah, well, I think what they're siding with, Julian, most is stability. You know, what they don't like, and I don't think what anybody should like, frankly, is the idea that Congress just doesn't act, and these administrative agencies feel like they can kind of make it up as they go along. And what happens is, as each president from a different party comes in, they decide to change everything through the administrative agencies. And what's supposed to happen in our system is Congress is supposed to enact laws, because those theoretically are the laws that are desired by the people who Congress represents. Whereas with the administrative state, they're bureaucrats, they're technocrats. They don't really represent anyone.
Yeah, Andy, exactly on that point. Alito suggests that Congress, quote, can amend the law, and perhaps would have done so already if the ATF had stuck with its earlier interpretation. Back to Shannon on that. I know you've got more, Shannon, because you've just read more. What do you have?
Yes, so I'm looking at the dissent, again, authored by Justice Sotomayor, joined by Justices Kagan and Jackson, says this, that the court is putting bump stocks back into civilian hands. They say to do so casts aside Congress' definition of machine gun, and she argues seizes upon a definition that's inconsistent. She goes on to say this: when I see a bird that walks like a duck, swims like a duck, and quacks like a duck, I call that a duck. She says a bump stock equipped semi-automatic rifle fires automatically more than one shot without manual reloading by a single function of the trigger. I, like Congress, call that a machine gun, and I dissent. So clearly they see the statutory language very differently, but she's very full-throated. She also, in that dissent, mentions the events of Las Vegas from 2017. So clearly that is woven through this opinion as both sides debate what the ATF did. Ultimately, the majority saying the ATF went too far, that a bump stock does not, under the statutory language, according to the majority, equate to a machine gun.
Yeah.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.